Welcome to the Leadership Spark podcast, where we equip you to be the great leader your people deserve. This is Corey, and I am here with Hampton. And today we're going to take it back to, I don't know what grade in high school this would be, but to a quote from Maya Angelou. Hampton, you're a lot closer to high school than I am. For those listening, Hampton's a lot closer to high school than I am. Do you remember Maya Angelou at all?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I should, but I don't.
You should. You should Google it after this. But Maya Angelou, there's a quote that I came across several years ago that it's just so powerful. It was a powerful reminder for a leader to think this way about every aspect of leadership that we do. And so her quote is this. She says, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And so as a leader, stepping into a leadership position today, stepping into your environment, to be reminded of the fact that people are going to forget most of what you say, if not all of it. We just forget. We forget most of what people say to us. People will probably forget what you did and the details of what you did, but they will never forget days, months, years from now, how you made them feel as a leader. And now, our jobs as leaders isn't to just make people feel good, right? But I do think that there are ways to lead in every situation that will allow the best outcome to happen and for people to feel dignified in the way that they are led. And so, Hampton, what do you may not remember Maya Angelou. That's fine. What do you think about that quote as someone who your leadership capacity and leadership responsibility has increased a lot over the last several months, several years? And so as you've found yourself in more and more leadership situations, how does this resonate to where people, they'll forget what you said, they'll forget what you do or did, but they won't forget how you made them feel?
It's pretty shocking whenever I have those realizations, because there's certain things that I might do as a leader or say as a leader, and I assume that that's what people are going to remember and that's what's going to have the impact. And then 6 months, a year, 2 years later, you end up talking to those people. And in my mind as a leader, I remember all these things that I did, maybe because I worked really hard or I thought a lot about it. And then the positive things, the memories they have may have nothing to do. It may be actually about like a time that we might have laughed together or something like that. Probably the easiest analogy is parenthood. I've only got one daughter. She's not even 2 years old yet. Corey has a couple more kids and gone through a lot of life with them. And I was actually talking to my parents recently, and they were, I think my dad specifically was blown away and not upset by this, but maybe shocked that we didn't necessarily remember every detail of all the vacations that we went on. We might have even remembered like playing outside in the yard or some of the funny stories or jokes that he used to tell us. And so that might be an even easier frame to look through to see that people remember, again, how you make them feel. And it makes me think about the importance of not only character, but competence in leadership. And I think depending on who you are, maybe you fall too far towards one or the other. Maybe you focus too much on competence and being able to do the job and you don't think enough about character. Or maybe you're all about character and integrity and relationships, and that's really good too. But at the end of the day, it does require both. But I've seen in this scenario, we'll talk a little bit more about character. I've recently seen people who are unbelievably talented, extremely smart, know everything about everything, but people don't really want to follow them because they don't make people feel very good. And so it's just this balance of having both of those that I'm learning more and more every day is really important.
Yeah, I think that regardless of the situation you find yourself in as a leader, and I think about the hardest conversations that I've ever had to have, and fortunately, I haven't had to do this too many times, but it's when you have to let someone go, when you have to fire someone as a leader, and you have to sit down with someone across the table from you and tell them that they no longer fit in your company and the role. And you can just imagine if you've ever gone through that, or if you haven't, you can imagine the impact that can have on someone. And so even in the hardest conversations as a leader, you can dignify the other person and you can make them feel good isn't necessarily the outcome in that situation when it's really, really hard, but they will remember how you made them feel. And if you handle it in a dignified way, guess what they're going to want to do in the future? Potentially follow you as a leader if they have the opportunity to do that again. And so just keep that in mind, that today as a leader, they're going to forget what you said, they're going to forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So go out there and be the leader that your people deserve.